Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're ready to begin. This Planning Commission meeting is called to order. This meeting has been properly noticed and posted in compliance with the open meeting law. We are live on KCLV Channel 2, and this meeting will be rebroadcast Saturday at 10 a.m., the following Monday at midnight, and again Tuesday at 5 a.m. and 6 p.m. Would everybody please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Chair Flangus.
Here.
Vice Chair Moody.
Here.
Commissioner Goins.
Present.
Commissioner Truesdale.
Present.
Commissioner Quinn. Here. Commissioner Schlottman.
Present.
Commissioner Bonar.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. I call your attention to the information printed in your agenda concerning our actions and the appeal and review process, if appropriate. Please read this carefully, and if you have any questions, staff is available to help you. Also, the second page of the agenda contains our rules of conduct. We would appreciate very much you adhering to these rules so that our meeting can run smoothly. Thank you for your attention on that. We're going to go to item number 4. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters on the agenda for action. If you wish to be heard, come to the podium and give your name for the record. The amount of discussion, as well as the amount of any time any single speaker is allowed, may be limited. Does anybody wish to be heard under this portion of the agenda? Sir, come on up, please.
Hi, my name is Heath Horvat. I'm 6843 Quindue Street, 89166. I apologize, this is my first time here, and I'm not really sure how this all works, but I would like to make a comment on a couple items you have on the agenda. Items number 27 and 29 on the agenda.
Okay, before you make comments on that, are you going to be here for that agenda item?
I didn't plan on it, no.
Beg your pardon?
No, I don't.
Okay, so go ahead then and tell us what you want to tell us on that.
Okay, what we're asking for there is they're asking for a zone variance on a parcel of land that's abutting 215 and Centennial on the west side of the 215. That area of land is a very small patch of land, and that road right there, Schaumburg, is a one-lane in each direction road. Traffic is already really bad. When they opened the bus yard at the corner of Schaumburg and Ann Road, there was supposed to be improvements made to 215 for the buses to get off. They don't do that. They use Schaumburg Road going north and Ann Road going eastbound. If you put 82 more homes on that corner of Centennial and Schaumburg on a one-lane each direction road, it's going to make a traffic nightmare in the morning. I respectfully request that this person, the group that's making this request for a zone variance, if they could either make the exit out onto another road other than Schaumburg, or do some improvements to Schaumburg. I know that I've been paying in a special improvement district every year for the last 5 years since I moved into Providence, and I've seen no improvements on that road since I moved in. And if they're going to be putting 82 more homes after putting the Avante apartments over there, which created a huge traffic influx, and as I said, in the south end of Schaumburg, we have the bus yard every morning with 50 to 100 buses between 7 and 8 o'clock. So if you guys could possibly do something about that, I would really appreciate it.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Appreciate it. Anybody else wish to be heard under this item 4? Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 5. Item number 5 is for possible action to approve the final minutes for the Planning Commission meeting of December 10th, 2013 and January 14th, 2014. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Mr. Chair, the motion is to approve the Planning Commission meeting minutes of January 14 and February 11, 2014.
Mr. Chair.
Excuse me, February 11th we're going to hold in abeyance for the next meeting, but right now the motion I'm looking for is for December 10, 2013 and January 14th, 2014.
I'm sorry, you said December 10th. Okay. Motion is to approve the Planning Commission minutes of December 10, 2013 and January 14, 2014.
Thank you, Commissioner. Please vote. Please post. Motion carries. And now I'd like to have a motion to hold in abeyance the approval of the minutes from the meeting of February 11th, 2014.
Motion is to hold in abeyance the minutes of the Planning Commission meeting of February 11, 2014.
Excuse me, I'll be obeying from that motion and that vote as I was not here.
Thank you, Commissioner. Please vote.
Oh, wait a minute, I was here.
Yeah, I think
I'm
you were.
sorry.
I got you.
I'm sorry.
Do you want to withdraw your abstention?
Yes, I do. I apologize to the clerk.
Okay, please vote. Okay, are you going to post it? Okay, the motion to hold the minutes in abeyance for February 11, 2014 does carry, noting the withdrawal of the abstention and the yes vote of Commissioner Quinn. Move on now to item number 6, our housekeeping items. Are there any items that commissioners, staff, applicants, or members of the public would like to pull forward for action?
Mr. Chairman, we have a request to hold items 23, 24, 25, and 26, which are GPA 52116, ZON 52117, WVR 52619, and TMP 52119. Staff notes this is the third abeyance request. State law requires that the Planning Commission make a finding of cause for the abeyance. Unfortunately, the applicant representative did not provide any cause for the abeyance, and hopefully they're here to speak on this item tonight so that the item can be acted upon.
Thank you.
There we go. Good evening, Jennifer Lazovich, 8345 West Sunset Road, here tonight representing the applicant on items 23, 24, 25, and 26. It's my understanding that the applicant is continuing to make changes based upon input both received by this commission, the councilman's office, as well as neighborhood feedback. That's my understanding for the hold.
Thank you. Do any other members of the public wish to be heard on this matter? And I take it that's all the housekeeping matters?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman. That's all we have tonight.
Thank you. Any discussion amongst the commissioners or a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'm prepared to make a motion and remind my fellow commissioners that at our last meeting on February 11, 2014, at my request, the applicant obeyed this until today's meeting. It's my understanding they have not yet had the opportunity to hold the neighborhood meeting that I requested, and therefore, both at my request and for good cause, my motion is to obey items 23, 24, 25, and 26 until the next Planning Commission meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner. Please vote. Please post. The motion to obey items number 23, 24, 25, and 26 for cause carries. Before we go on to the one motion, one vote portion of the calendar tonight, I would like to take a moment and observe a moment of silence for Todd Farlow with the familiar ring of 240 North 19th Street. Todd has been a very active participant in these meetings as well as the City Council for many, many years. And as a lot of you already know, he passed away here a few weeks ago. So I'd like to take a few seconds here to observe a moment of silence in his honor. Thank you. Move on to the one motion, one vote portion of the calendar. The following items that the following are items that may be considered in one motion, one vote. They are considered routine, non-public, and public hearing items. All public hearings and non-public hearings will be opened at one time. Any person representing an application or a member of the public or a member of the Planning Commission not in agreement with the conditions and all standard conditions for the application recommended by staff should request to have that item removed from this part of the agenda. We're going to begin now with item number 7, which is ANX 52635. The applicant owner is Noah Herrera for possible action on a petition to annex 0.42 acres at 1841 North Michael Way in Ward 5, Councilman Barlow. Staff is recommending approval. Item number 8, which is VAC 52698. Applicant owner is Dendrate LLC for possible action on a request for a petition to vacate a 10-foot public drainage easement at 2480 Professional Court in Ward 1, Councilwoman Tarkanian. Staff is recommending approval. Item number 9 is VAC 52702. The applicant owner is Toll North LV LLC for possible action on a petition to vacate public sewer drainage and utility easements generally located west of Schaumburg Road, east of Pooley Road, and north of Elkhorn Road in Ward 6, Councilman Ross. Staff is recommending approval. Item number 10, SUP 52706. The applicant owner is 612 Carson LLC for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed 2,000 square foot tavern limited establishment with 685 square feet of outdoor seating area at 622 East Carson Avenue in Ward 3, Councilman Coffin. Staff is recommending approval. Item number 11, SUP 52707. The applicant owner, again, is 612 Carson LLC for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed 1,633 square foot tavern limited establishment with 497 square feet of outdoor seating area at 618 East Carson Avenue in Ward 3, Councilman Coffin. Staff is recommending approval. Item number 12, SUP 52708. The applicant owner, again, is 612 Carson LLC for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed 875 square foot tavern limited establishment with 760 square feet of outdoor seating area at 612 East Carson Avenue in Ward 3, Councilman Coffin. Staff is recommending approval. Item number 13 is SUP 52605. The applicant is Hibachi Grill and Supreme Buffet, Inc. The owner is Stewart and Nellis Partners, LLC, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed beer/wine/cooler on-sale establishment within a proposed 13,048 square foot restaurant at 313 North Nellis Boulevard in Ward 3, Councilman Coffin. Staff is recommending approval. Item number 14 is SUP 52659. The applicant is Olive Crest. The owner is SLP Northbrook 5 LLC for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed social service provider at 4285 North Rancho Drive, Suite 160 in Ward 4, Councilman Anthony. Staff is recommending approval. Item number 15 is SUP 52704. The applicant is Bonefish Grill, LLC. The owner is Micah 68 Holding Limited Partnership for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed restaurant with alcohol use at 8701 West Charleston Boulevard in Ward 2, Councilman Beers. Staff is recommending approval. The final item on the one motion vote portion is RQR 52209. The applicant is Be Free 2 LLC. The owner is Teton Durango 2008 LLC for possible action on a required review of an approved special use permit for accessory packaged liquor off sale with an existing 2,510 square foot convenience store at 8053 North Durango Drive, Suite 160, in Ward 6, Councilman Ross. Staff is also recommending approval. Is there anybody wish to have any of these matters pulled?
Mr. Chairman, item 16, RQR 52209, the applicant is not in agreement with the conditions recommended by staff, and that item will need to be pulled.
Thank you. Does anybody wish to have any other items pulled? Ma'am, come on up to the mic and state your name and address, please.
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. Mr. Chairman, I am the owner of the applicant with reference item number 16.
Okay, ma'am, we're going to pull you up here in a minute.
Oh.
We're going to handle the other items first, then I'm going to call that one forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'll entertain a motion, or is there any discussion on any other items amongst the commissioners?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, on items 10 through 12, I'll be abstaining on those items as I have an ongoing business relationship with the applicant.
Commissioner Goins?
Mr. Chairman, I'll be abstaining on item 14 as my company provides funding to Olive Crest.
Any other commissioners wish to be heard? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion on the one vote items.
Mr. Chair, the motion on the one motion, one vote items 7 through 15 is for approval, noting the abstentions.
Thank you. Please vote. Please post. Motion to approve items number 7 through 15 carries, noting the abstentions of Commissioner Slotman on items 10 through 12 and the abstention of Commissioner Goins on item number 14.
Mr. Chairman, please note that item number 7 will be forwarded to City Council in ordinance form. Items number 8 through 15 are final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days.
Thank you. We'll now go on to item number 16 again, which is RQR 52209. The applicant is Be Free 2 LLC. The owner is Teton Durango 2008 LLC for possible action on a required review of an approved special use permit for accessory packaged liquor off sale within an existing 2,510 square foot convenience store at 8053 North Durango Drive, Suite 160, in Ward 6, Councilman Ross. Staff is recommending approval. Staff, may we have a report, please?
Mr. Chairman, a temporary business license was issued for packaged liquor off sale on February 20th of 2013. On April 23rd, 2013, the license became permanent and is still active. Staff finds no adverse impact regarding the continued use and recommends approval of this request. Staff has added an additional required review in 1 year due to concerns over lack of permits for temporary signage at this location. Please note we have received one additional support since publication.
Thank you. Can we hear from the applicant, please?
Thank you, Commissioner, Commissioners, and Mr. Chairman. Yeah, as
Before
the
you
owner,
start, could I have your name and address,
Sure.
please, again? I know you've already given it once.
Yes, sir. B. Sharif, and I am at 8053 North Durango. The owner of House of Vino is the DBA under Be Free. My only concern with the request by staff is the condition that it has an additional review next year, which would be the second review. And my main concern, and I am a one-store owner, is the burdensome of the fees. It just continues. And I'm requesting that that second review be eliminated from this particular item. I have put a great deal of improvements dollar-wise into this store, and just an additional review, it may seem minor, but for me, it is onersome, it is burdensome.
Thank you. Do any other members of the public wish to be heard on this item? Seeing none, I will close the public comment portion, open up for discussion amongst the commissioners. Before the commissioners go, Director, would you like to speak?
Certainly. Mr. Chairman, just to respond to the question by the applicant relative to the condition for an additional 1-year review, That requirement was placed by staff due to the fact that there have been 3 sign violations over the past year. The required review was put on as a condition of approval just to make sure that there aren't any additional sign violations. However, if the Planning Commission feels that based on the applicant's testimony, the use will be operated in conformance with code requirements, then that condition may be eliminated.
Thank you. Any other commissioners wish to be heard on this? Commissioner Slotman?
Yes, we always talk about the signs and illegal signs, and no matter how many times we approve these, we go back, we look at them 6 months later, and they have the illegal signs up again. If we want to stop this, we're going to have these reviews. And if it's costly, maybe people will start learning to not put up the illegal signs.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Moody? Before, did you have your,
I just wondered if it's something we could administratively do rather than a public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, in response to that, yes, that could be an administrative review.
thank you, Commissioner Bowen, or Commissioner Moody?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to the director, what would that administrative review look like? Would it be 1 year as well?
Yes, what we would do is in 12 months, we would review any violations that occurred on the property. If there were no violations, then that would be the end of the reviews. We wouldn't recommend any additional reviews. If there are any violations, then we would do another administrative review.
And what would the difference be in cost of the administrative review versus a public hearing?
The applicant would not be required to pay for any of the mailing fees associated with the public hearing. It would just be the application fee.
Okay. And one last question for staff. When was the last violation?
Well, the last violation is on your screen in front of you for the banner located that was taken on 2/6/14 of this year.
Mr. Chair, it looks like there's some other comments.
I'll entertain a motion, Commissioner Moody.
Mr. Chair, before we make a motion, and I don't mind having an administrative review. I think it would go down from, what, $1,035 to $375, or something drastically less.
It would go from $800 to $300.
However, Mr. Chair, through you, question for the director. So if they have additional illegal signage, you would recommend another administrative review. What's that help? I mean, how's that solve the issue?
What it does is it, again, puts at the forefront that this business had violations in the past, and so we continue to monitor it more closely than we would other businesses. So all it does is it guarantees that we will go back and check on the business to make sure they're operating in conformance with adopted city codes.
And Mr. Chair, one more question. Does that mean code enforcement would get involved and start issuing fines for these businesses that are, that keep repeating the same offense?
Yes.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Moody, I'll entertain a motion.
I had one
Excuse
question.
me.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Goins?
I know we didn't hear from the applicant, but, if this applicant's violated it 3 times, and these are privileged because you're selling alcohol, I'd like to hear the applicant at least say, I get it now, it won't happen, I didn't realize it, or what, because you're coming up to ask for relief, but yet the same thing could happen, and then here we go again, and we haven't heard anything from the applicant on their behalf.
Thank you, Commissioner. I would like to respond. And given that this is the first year, 1 calendar year that I've owned it, I was not aware of the permit on the first year. Within the first year, I did obtain a permit for the quarter. I did not realize it was simply a quarter, so that's why the latest violation ran over that period in which I did obtain a permit. I can assure you all, it will not happen again. I can assure you all, it's not worth all this.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, what was the date of the last violation this year?
It was in February.
Yeah, I do not have that in the staff report. It was generated by the RQR. We sent a memo to code enforcement indicating that there was an illegal banner on site, and it would have occurred sometime after February 6th of this year.
So within the year that this applicant has owned this establishment, is that the only one, or?
No, that's the third violation within the 1 year.
So what didn't you understand
No,
about the
there
other
was
three?
two. There was only two within the period that I've owned the store. The initial one, I believe, was in June, which was the first one which I was not aware there was a permit requirement for banners. And then I did obtain a permit, but I was not fully understood that it was a quarterly permit. So it was during the holiday period, it ran over, and that was the February violation.
Thank you.
Commissioner Moody?
I'm prepared to make a motion, Mr. Chair. I would be opposed to eliminating any type of review, but based on the applicant's representations and the alternative of amending the condition to make it an administrative review rather than a public review, my motion will be to approve item 16, RQR 52209, with that revised condition.
Thank you, Commissioner. Please vote. Please post. Motion to approve item 16 carries with the amended condition.
And Mr. Chairman, that item is final action here this evening.
Thank you. We're going to now move on to the public hearing items. We'll begin with the three related items, 17, 18, and 19. Item number 17 is VAR 51765. The applicant owner is CNC Medical Plaza LLC for possible action on a request for a variance to allow 7 parking spaces where 13 parking spaces are the minimum required at 1640 East Charleston Boulevard in Ward 3, Councilman Coffin. Staff is recommending denial. Related item number 18, VAR 51766 for possible action on a request to allow a 5-foot side yard setback where 10 feet is the minimum required, and to allow a trash enclosure 18 feet from residentially zoned property where 50 feet is the minimum required in Ward 3, Councilman Coffin. The last related item is item number 19, which is SDR 51764 for possible action on a request for a site development plan review for a proposed 868 square foot expansion to an existing 1,677 square foot medical office with waivers to allow a 0-foot wide landscape buffer along the north and south property lines where 15 feet is the minimum required, also in Ward 3, Councilman Coffin. Staff is recommending denial. Staff, may we have a report, please?
Mr. Chair, the applicant is proposing a 686 square foot addition to an existing 1,677 square foot medical building located in the southwest corner of Charleston Boulevard and 17th Street. The 3 land use applications associated with this development, a site development plan review, waiver, exception, and 2 variances. The variances allow the trash enclosure to be located in the rear of the property, 18 feet from a residentially zoned property where 50 feet is required. To expand the building east 5 feet from the corner property line where 10 feet is the minimum required. To allow 7 parking spaces where 14 are required. A waiver allows a 0-foot wide landscape buffer along Charleston Boulevard where 15-foot buffer is required. The exception will allow a parking lot void of landscape islands and vegetation. And the site development plan review allows for the 868 square foot expansion. This item was obeyed twice to possibly redesign the site. After meeting with staff, a design solution could not be agreed upon. As proposed, the project cannot be developed in accordance with Title 19 development standards. The 2 variances, 1 exception and waiver, and the accompanying waiver reinforce the unsuitability of the proposed addition. The applicant has created a self-imposed hardship by proposing to overbuild the site. Therefore, staff recommends denial. Please note the waiver to the rear along the south property line was not needed. It was advertised.
Thank you. Can we hear from the applicant, please? And sir, if you'll state your name and address.
Good evening. Sheldon Colon, 9017 South Pecos, here representing the applicant. This project, the goal of the client who is currently in the space and owns it is to better serve the community. They're not here to try to increase their client base. They're here just to offer their clients a greater option, possibly doing procedures in the location that they can't do right now, and expand the waiting room to allow for people to not be all crammed in there as they are now. And between the first time we were here and currently, we met on site with Commissioner Schlottman and explained to him, and he met with the owners, and they explained what their purpose was for increasing their space. So we would still present the options of a better improved parking area, which they don't have now, and circulation would be a lot better. And currently, the trash enclosure isn't as pretty as it would be, so we're trying to actually improve the area. So we would ask that you approve what's in front of you.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Is any members of the public wish to be heard on this matter? Seeing none, I will close the public comment portion, open up for discussion amongst the commissioners. Commissioner Slotman?
Yes, Chairman, through you. I'm typically against overbuilding on sites, and I look real closely at parking. And the very first time this come to us, I didn't understand it, didn't like it. I was missing my landscape plan for my backup, and I was missing a whole bunch of other stuff. Not that staff didn't put them in there. I think I forgot to print it off before going and looking at this site. However, the 0-foot landscape buffer, there's a landscape buffer currently, and we're not going to correct that issue on Fremont Street, because if we correct that landscape buffer, we're taking away the ability for them to park in front of that building. The next biggest issue that I had was trash enclosure and being within 50 feet of a residential area. But currently, they have trash within 50 feet of that residential area. I was concerned about a big dumpster, smells, traveling over to the neighbors' houses. But then I discovered that they're actually just using a typical Republic Service trash can that we'd use at our house. And so they'll have to, I think one of the conditions of approval is for them to go out and set up service with the Republic Service to have them picking that up on a daily basis. And this isn't a fast food restaurant where they're going to be producing a whole bunch of smelly trash going in there. They'll have 2 trash receptacles, one for the needles and the things that the disposal services will pick up, and one for Republic Services. So when I walked inside, the front waiting area was really small. So that's one of the main things that they're going to be expanding, would be that front section. Another big portion of that's their office. And if you look at the site plan on the northwest portion, almost a third of that building is just going to be for their office space. So it's not actually going to be adding that much more demand to this building. And this is a building that I pass by almost on a daily basis. And I'll look at that parking lot, and it's never full. People aren't overflowing, or cars aren't overflowing in that parking lot. And I know we don't consider parking off-site parking, but there's a bank across the street that's never going anywheres. And there's 150 feet of street along that bank and 150 feet of street along the side of this building. So after seeing the landscape plan, seeing that we will get landscape all the way around this building, we will get a new facade, and we will be fixing up this part of Charleston, those are some of the reasons that I would support this project. But I'll turn it over to the chair and see if anybody else has any comments.
Thank you, Commissioner. Do any other commissioners wish to be heard? Commissioner Goins?
Just one comment, Commissioner, on you said the request to pick up daily. So I was looking at the item number 5 in the recommendation. It just says that prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall obtain and submit to the Department of Planning an approval letter from a waste management company that allows curbside garbage pickup. It doesn't reference daily in there, but I don't know from the medical side, should that be picked up daily because of needles?
Mr. Chairman, if I may repeat, I might have misspoken whenever I said daily, so I'll retract that statement. I think it just needs to be set in accordance with however much trash they're actually producing, because it's going to be mainly from doctor's office. They pull out the paper across the beds, so it's going to be a lot of paper trash and things like that going into a curbside service trash can. So they'll have to determine what size trash can they need. I'm sure they're not going to be eating 15 buckets of fried chicken in there or fast food, which is making it smell on a daily basis. So they'll have to figure out how often, get that agreement set up. As far as the needles and the items that need to be picked up by a service company, I wouldn't know how often that needs to be picked up. So I don't know if there's a need for us to add a condition for them to look into that as well.
Thank you. Any other commissioners wish to be heard? I'll entertain a motion.
On item number 17, advance item VAR 51765, for the reasons stated previously, I would make a motion for approval to follow staff's, to make a motion for approval with all of staff's conditions.
Please vote. Please post. Item number 17, motion to approve carries.
Mr. Chair, on item number 18, advance item VAR 51766, I would make a motion for approval based on the testimony we just heard, following all of staff's conditions.
Thank you, Commissioner. Please vote. Please post. Motion to approve item 18 carries.
Mr. Chair, on item number 19, advance item SDR 51764, I would make a motion for approval based on testimony that we just heard, following all of staff's conditions.
Thank you, Commissioner. Please vote. Please post. Motion to approve item 19 carries.
Mr. Chairman, these items will go forward to the April 16th City Council meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on now to related items 20, 21, and 22, beginning with item number 20, ZON 52391. The applicant is D.R. Horton. The owner is Valencia A. 13004 Investors, LLC, for possible action on a request for a rezoning from RE Residence Estates to R1 Single Family Residential on the east side of Buffalo Drive, approximately 230 feet north of Oakey Boulevard in Ward 1, Councilwoman Tarkanian. Staff is recommending approval. Item number 21, VAR 52392, for possible action on a request for a variance to allow a 1.0 connectivity ratio where the minimum required is 1.30, and to allow a private street with no gate to have sidewalks on one side of the street where both sides are required. Also in Ward 1, Councilwoman Tarkanian. Staff is recommending denial. The final related item number 22 is TMP 52393 for possible action on a request for a tentative map for an 11-lot single-family residential subdivision. Staff is recommending denial. Staff, may we have a report, please?
Mr. Chairman, this land is currently undeveloped. Staff is recommending approval of the requested rezoning as the density of the proposal is compatible with existing surrounding residential developments and will provide an appropriate buffer between the RPD2, that's a residentially planned development, 2 units to the acre to the east, and with Buffalo Drive to the west. However, the applicant is also requesting a variance to the connectivity ratio. Staff, this request results from a self-created hardship in the design of the project. Staff is not supportive of this variance request and is recommending denial of the variance and the tentative map applications. Please note that we have a revised staff report that's part of your supplemental information, adding 3 conditions that the applicant had been working with residents in the area. I'll read those into the record. Condition number 1 now reads, developer will install two 24-inch box trees in each rear yard of the lots along the eastern boundary. These trees will be selected from the following list: live oak, African sumac, Carolina cherry, Japanese blueberry, Texas privet, Armandale pine. The trees will be installed at each house as each house is built and prior to the sale to the home buyer. Condition number 2 added, the lots along the eastern boundary of the site will have a minimum 20-foot rear yard setback in place of the minimum 15-foot rear yard setback as set forth in Title 19.06.07, Building Placement Table 1. And then added condition number 3, this project is currently located within the existing LVVWD 2635 lower pressure zone. Due to the lower water pressure in this area, the developer shall install an off-site water main connecting to the existing LVVWD 2745 upper pressure zone located approximately 800 linear feet to the southwest to serve as its water source.
Thank you. And can we hear from the applicant, please?
Good evening, Jennifer Lazovich, 8345 West Sunset Road, here tonight on behalf of the applicant D.R. Horton. On the aerial is an aerial photo of where our site is located. It is right adjacent to Buffalo, south of Charleston. Just immediately to the north of us, you may be familiar with a project that Blue Heron developed. The homes are very beautiful and have kind of a modern appeal. And then immediately south of us is an existing home, and then we get to Oakey. The site plan before you shows 11 homes. We have 1 entrance off of Buffalo, which will be gated. That is a very important point because unfortunately when we originally submitted the plans to staff, our plans didn't show a gate, although we knew that the feedback from the neighbors was that they thought this would be a better community if we gated it. We subsequently turned in plans to staff after the notices were already created that does show this project is gated. We are happy to add a condition if you want us to, but the current plans in with staff do show a gate, and we do intend to gate it. So again, if we want to add that condition, that is fine with us. Again, there's, through a gated community, we do have 11 lots. The 2 variance requests that we're asking for, one is for the connectivity ratio. As you can see, this is such a small piece of property with only 11 homes, but technically your code would require 2 connectivity points. We obviously meet 1 right here, but technically to comply with code, we would need to put in like a pedestrian gate on the northern end of our property in between our 2 projects, and that doesn't seem to make too much sense in between 2 private homes. So that's the reason why we asked for that variance. The second variance is for the sidewalk. It's a very specific request for the variance, which ties into a very specific condition that Doug Rankin read into the record. We are showing a sidewalk on one side of the street. That would be on the western side of our internal street. However, if you notice, we are not showing the sidewalk on the eastern side. And the reason why we didn't, and we requested the variance, is again, feedback from our neighborhood meeting, is to provide a deeper rear yard along the eastern boundary of the lots, separating us from the existing homes to the east. So with the variance request, we're able to take that 5-foot wide sidewalk that we would have had on the front and instead place an additional 5 feet on the rear yard, which takes us to a 20-foot rear yard setback rather than a code-required 15-foot rear yard setback. The other condition that the neighbors asked for is for a landscape buffer, if you will, along the backyards or within each of the backyards on our side. So our first condition deals with the developer installing 2 24-inch box trees in each lot along the eastern boundary. Again, that was to address some of the comments raised by the neighbors on the east side. And then finally, apparently we're in an area with a very low pressure water zone. We heard that from the neighbors not only to the north of us but to the east of us. And there was concern that we were going to tap into that lower pressure zone and further diminish their water pressure. So they were, I think, relieved to hear when we said, no, there's no room for us to do that, and we have to bring in water from an upper pressure zone, which is located about 800 feet away, to service our project. We have to do that no matter what, but it's one of those conditions where we felt it would give the neighbors comfort if, again, we made it as part of a condition so that everybody knows we're doing what we said we would do during the neighborhood meeting. The only other thing I just wanted to point out in terms of conditions as you consider these applications is condition number 7 under the tentative map. The last sentence references internal public streets, and we think that's supposed to be internal private streets because we're gating the project, but I look to either Doug or Lucian to tell me if we need to make a change there. But outside of that, I would be happy to answer any questions. I do also want to take a moment to show you our conceptual elevations. Again, as I mentioned, this is D.R. Horton, and they are creating a product specifically for this site. They would like to be compatible, if you will, to the Blue Heron project that's immediately to the north, which has more of a modern feel to it. So if you're familiar with that project, you'll know that you'll see some similar elements in what our conceptual elevations look like at this time. And so outside of that, just like some feedback on that one, condition number 7, and then be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do any members of the public wish to be heard on this matter? Ma'am, if you'll state your name and address, please.
Is this on? Yes. Hi. My name is Susan Brown. I'm 1508 Canyon Ledge Court. I represent the homeowners in the property, in the Blue Heron property just north of this development. And I want to express my thanks to Jennifer because she's worked really well with D.R. Horton to make this effort happen smoothly. And we look forward to having neighbors there, but we want to make sure that the specific amendment to require a gate for this community be part of this project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, did you want to be heard?
My name is David Knowlton, 1616 Marbella Ridge Court, which are the homes directly to the east of where D.R. Horton plans to build the homes. We had some heated meetings, or I wouldn't say heated, but D.R. Horton did take our suggestions. They back right up to our homes, which are the one on the corners for sale for $1 million plus, and these homes are, of course, not in that range. And our backyards back up right to their project. So we really feel it's important that we get that extra 5-foot setback, which would normally not be required. And just like Susan, I'd want to thank Jennifer with D.R. Horton for working with the neighborhood to try to get something that we can live with, because we certainly don't want a commercially zoned property there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Any other members of the public wish to be heard on these items? Seeing none, I will close the public comment portion, open it up for discussion amongst the commissioners. Commissioner Quinn?
I'd like to go last if any of my other commissioners would like to speak first. If not, I'm
Certainly.
ready to speak.
Commissioner Truesdale?
Thank you.
Knowing the history of the Blue Heron project, the other projects along that corridor, I'd like to commend Ms. Lazovich on working with the neighbors and D.R. Horton and coming up with something that they support, because they're good neighbors and they can be vocal, and they do take their neighborhood very seriously. I think the elevations fit the character of what was started. Then, there'll be different homes or different builders. I think the gate fits the intention of that corridor and support the project, and don't see any, I agree, the additional 5 feet will help the properties along the east, that back up to the east side of this development.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Slotman?
Yes, Chairman, question for staff, and maybe a request for staff. The request is, if there's some sort of connectivity document or something, is there a way that y'all could share that with me? not at this meeting, but after, so I could get a better understanding of that. So that would be the request, and then the question portion deals with, does the connectivity ratio take into account these smaller communities with relatively small private streets? That's it.
Mr. Chairman, through you, I'll respond to Commissioner Schlottman's questions. Number one, yes, we'd be happy to sit down and talk to you about connectivity ratio. Number two, relative to infill lots like these lots are unique, and so consequently, as we consider variances from connectivity ratio, we need to take that into account. The connectivity ratio is intended to apply to new subdivisions primarily to make sure that we have adequate access to a neighborhood and to the amenities surrounding the neighborhood so that you don't have to drive 2 miles to get to the school that's, behind your back wall. And so that's really the intent of the connectivity ratio. But again, as we look at infill parcels, these are unique, and so consequently, I think additional consideration needs to be given as to whether or not they meet those ratios.
Thank you. Commissioner Quinn?
Thank you, Ms. Blazevich. When I came to meet with you, there was 3 no's written across my forehead. No, no, and no. And then I sat down with you and I looked at that project, and I first of all commend you immensely on how hard you worked with this incredible neighborhood next to you. These are people that take such great pride in where they live, and not that I have any disrespect for a D.R. Horton project, but he really stepped it up a beat to be their neighbors. And I love what you're going to build there. Me and my sidewalks, it's a tough one for me, but after looking at it and understanding it more thoroughly and understanding about the setback in the back and the fact that you're going to provide the trees for the buffer for these neighbors, I also commend you on that. And the water line thing, who'd have ever thought that, everybody around you has these water problems, and so what are you going to do? You're just going to bring your own water line in. So, the old saying is you don't kick a gift horse in the mouth, and if this project goes, there could not be anything nicer on that street, in that area, than something like these homes, and you will see my full support on all 3 items this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, could I just make 2 comments quickly?
Certainly.
I think it would be good just for the peace of mind for the neighbors if we added a condition that says the project must be gated. Again, our plans say that, but I think it would just be good to
Yes.
perhaps add that condition.
And we'd add that where, Director?
On item 22, the tentative map,
Okay. We'll add the condition that it's gated on
Thank
item
you.
number 22, Jen.
And then Lucian and I talked briefly about the clarification on number 7 on the tentative map.
Sure, Mr. Chairman. Because we reviewed this as a public streets before it came in, that was an error, so we can actually delete the last sentence of condition number 7 and just not speak to the public streets being having sidewalk on one side. And as far as the gating, I could just add that we do have a condition number 10 that they work with the traffic engineer on the geometric design of the gating, so it is in the conditions that there's a gate.
Thank you. And
And then-
I'm assuming, never mind. Go ahead and
then-
do your motion then, Commissioner Quinn.
Thank you, through you, Chairman. Regarding item number 20, which was an abeyance of zoning 52391, I offer a motion for approval following all of staff's recommendations.
Thank you. Please vote. Please post. Motion to approve item number 20 carries. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you. And regarding item number 21, which was an abeyance item variance 52392, I offer a recommendation of approval following all staff's recommendations with respect that there will be only sidewalks on one side of the street with a 5-foot extra in the back for the other side of the street, and that the trees are going to be provided by the owner, correct, Jen?
On behalf of the developer, yes.
On behalf
As
of the developer.
Mr. Rankin read into the record, yes.
Yes. So with that, I offer a motion for approval.
Thank you, Commissioner. Please vote. Please post. Motion to approve item number 21 carries.
Thank you. And regarding your last item of the three, number 22, which was abeyance TMP 52393 with an addition, a condition that the gate will be added and you will work with Lucian and, with.
Just to delete?
Yes. And so that condition is in writing, that this will be a gated community and it will be gated when the homes are built.
And then adding the three conditions that?
Yes.
Okay.
And adding the three other conditions. So with that, I offer a motion for approval.
And then removing the last sentence on condition number 7.
Yes.
Yeah, yes. And I want to commend you, Mr. D.R. Horton, for providing a project in the community that meets the needs and not a project that you're used to building. So we appreciate it and thank you very much.
Please vote. Please post. Motion to approve item number 22 carries.
Mr. Chairman, these items will go forward to the April 16th City Council meeting.
Thank you, and I just would like to briefly thank the neighbors. They did work with me on multiple neighborhood meetings as well as with D.R. Horton, and I appreciate all their input and working with us.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
We're going to move on now to related items 27, 28, and 29. I will be abstaining on these items as I've represented clients in litigation against principals of the master developer. So out of an abundance of caution, I will be abstaining.
Item 27, ZON 52433. The applicant is CG-211 LLC. The owner is South Providence Holdings LLC and SP5 LLC. For possible action on a request for rezoning from U undeveloped to PD, plan development at the northeast corner of Centennial Parkway and Schomburg Road in Ward 6. Item 28, VAC 52434 for possible action on a request for a petition to vacate approximately 310 linear feet of public right-of-way, Darling Road, and a U.S. government patent easement generally located south of the southeast corner of Rome Road and Schomburg Road in Ward 6. And item 29, TMP 52435 for possible action on a request for a tentative map for an 82-lot single-family residential development, also in Ward 6. Can we please have staff's report?
Mr. Vice Chairman, this item has an approval by the Cliffs Edge Providence Design Review Committee. It meets all conditions of the Cliffs Edge design guidelines. Staff recommends approval of all the applications, but please note we do have to amend condition number 2 to read as follows. It's part of your supplemental backup. Prior to recordation of a final map for this site, a site plan review is required to demonstrate conformance to Cliff Edge landscaping standards along Centennial Parkway and Schomburg Road. The applicant is showing the landscape area but is not indicating any landscape material in that area, and we need to have that as part of the application. And we can delete condition number 3 in its entirety.
Thank you. Can we please hear from the applicant? Your name and address, please.
Chris Dingle, 3455 Cliff Shadows Parkway. I'm here representing the applicant. This is a request to add an additional 5 acres into Cliff's Edge that was not part of the original zone change. It was not owned at the time by the master developer. So what we're looking to do is to zone that to PD and bring it into Cliff's Edge and to vacate some patent easements in a right-of-way that are no longer needed, and for a tentative map for an 86-lot subdivision. And with that, we agree with staff conditions and for your approval.
Okay, thank you very much. Does anyone else wish to be heard on these items? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment and open this for discussion amongst the planning commissioners.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman. I think the development's appropriate in expanding Cliffs Edge as additional control. One question I had, the triangular parcel to the east backing up to the Beltway, That's not part of
No,
any of
it's
the
not part of this
ownerships or
request.
anything? Nothing about this prevents utility access to that or any?
No, we actually, that was one of the reasons for the vacation of Darling. They agreed to it. And what we're going to do is, we worked with staff on a cul-de-sac. It's going to come down to a cul-de-sac, and they're going to be able to take their access from that cul-de-sac.
Okay.
And we worked with them, and they agreed to that cul-de-sac.
Alrighty. Then if there are no other comments, I'd make a motion for approval of item 27, subject to all staff's conditions of approval.
Please vote.
And with regards to item, oh, go ahead.
Please post. That item carries, noting the abstention of Chairman Flangus.
With regards to item 28, VAC 52434, move to follow staff's recommendation for approval, subject to all conditions.
Please vote.
And Mr. Vice Chair, before we vote on the tentative map, I had one additional condition change to the tentative map before you vote on it, which would be the current condition 11.
Lucian, let me just, let's post this.
Okay. Sorry.
Oh, it was posted. Then that item also carries. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Oh, that's okay. So condition number 11, as it reads today, we would like to add, modify the first sentence to say, if not already constructed or guaranteed by the master developer, and the portion that we're adding is, or Clark County Public Works, construct half-street improvements on Centennial Parkway, Schaumburg Road, Rome Boulevard, and Larry McBride Street. But really, the only part that we're adding is after the word master developer, adding or Clark County Public Works.
Is the applicant in agreement with that change?
Yes, I'm in agreement with that.
Go ahead.
Just a question. The gentleman that spoke when the meeting started and had to leave, Schaumburg Road was his question. How does his concern get addressed, or can it get addressed?
I actually spoke to the gentleman out there. He was concerned with access. He thought we were going to have the access off of Centennial, but the access is going to be from Schaumburg, and it's going to be in the center of the development. And when this was originally put together, Cliff's Edge, it was always intended for the entrance to be in the center where the median is, and I explained that to the gentleman. And then he also had some questions about Schaumburg Road South, and I explained to him that we had already built Schaumburg Road, and that anything south going towards Ann Road would be built by someone else.
Thank you.
Okay, so you're in agreement with the revised condition 11. I would make a motion for approval, subject to all staff's conditions, with the revised conditions, the revisions to condition number 2, the deletion of condition number 3, and the revisions to condition 11.
Thank you. Please vote. Post.
Thank you.
That item also carries, again noting the abstention of Chairman Flangus.
Mr. Vice Chair, these items will go forward to the April 16th City Council meeting.
Thank you. We'll pick up now with related items 30 and 31, starting with item 30, which is VAR 52660. The applicant is Angel Park. The owner is City of Las Vegas. For possible action on a request for a variance to allow a 30-foot tall, 187-square-foot freestanding sign where a 12-foot tall, 48-square-foot freestanding sign is the maximum allowed, and to allow a 1.5-foot wide single pole support where a 2.9-foot single support is the minimum allowed at 100 South Rampart Boulevard in Ward 2, Councilman Beers. Staff is recommending denial. Related item 31 is MSP 52661 for possible action on request for a master sign plan for an existing golf course on 140.75 acres at 100 South Rampart Boulevard in Ward 2, Councilman Beers. Staff is recommending denial. Staff, may we have a report, please?
Mr. Chair, the applicant is requesting a sign variance and master sign plan for an existing golf course located at 100 South Rampart Boulevard. The master sign plan is required on all non-residential properties at least 15 net acres. The variance will allow the only sign on the property be constructed in a manner that does not conform to Title 19 requirements. Specifically, a freestanding two-faced 187 square foot digital sign 30 feet tall with a 1.5 foot supporting structure. Code allows for signs in the civic zoning district to be 12 feet tall, 48 square feet in area, with a supporting structure that is 3 feet or 20% width of the sign, whichever is smaller. The proposed sign could be built on a smaller scale and in conformance with Title 19 standards. The hardship is self-imposed. Therefore, staff recommends denial of the variance and master sign plan. Please note, additional letters of protest were received after publication.
Thank you. Can we hear from the applicant, please?
Derek Demarest, Patrick Signs, 5115 Arville Street, 89118, representing Angel Park Golf Course. Keeping within the code of 12 feet tall and having Rampart being a 6-lane roadway, there was no means to advertise except only to the right lane. Keeping up with Civoli located on the south end of the property, Tivoli, and Rampart Casino and Suncoast, we're not asking for anything bigger or more than they have. We're actually trying to remain conservative but still gaining the 60,000 plus cars that drive by a day. Angel Park being a golf course, people only in that community realize what they have on the property. And by utilizing the messaging, we'd be able to advertise and hopefully gain additional revenue for the city of Las Vegas with the weddings and the banquets and everything else. So with that being said, we felt that this was the biggest sign to gain what they're looking for, but the most conservative one for Rampart and all the other properties surrounding it.
Thank you, sir. Any members of the public wish to be heard on this? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment portion, open up for discussion amongst the commissioners. Commissioner Truesdale?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman. I live in the immediate area, but I don't live within the notice area. I drive by this intersection 3-4 times a day. The Rampart Casino, or the JW Marriott, does have a sign. When you look in scale of that sign to the scale of the commercial property that they paid for in the marketplace, they bought it in a fair market environment, and they advertise their business in a fair market environment. It's one thing. Tivoli Village, again, hundreds of millions of dollars spent on property that they bought in a fair market environment and maintain in a fair market environment. The golf course sits on a BLM lease with the city of Las Vegas. Not a fair market environment. It's a golf course. Everybody who lives in Summerlin, everybody who lives east of there, in fact, everybody who lives in this that's ever driven down Rampart knows it's a golf course, knows that you can have a wedding there, knows. This sign is a prelude to a cross drive, I believe, that has been worked out with Tivoli Village to provide access. And this is just a step closer to an off-premise sign in a corridor here. And the next one will be on the Parkway, or the next one will be on Durango down by the bus transfer center. There is no logical reason for this. There's not enough. The course runs at almost maximum capacity year-round. So it's not like they're missing that impulse buyer that's going down the road that needs to be reminded they could play golf today. And flashing the name of, Bill and Betty got married today probably isn't the highest and best use in that residential neighborhood. So all this is a prelude to off-premise or misguided signage, and there's absolutely no need for it. You have signage there right now that identifies Angel Park. People notice it. If you put a 12-foot monument, it would be in scale for what you built or what your clients have on that property compared to what everybody else has. There's no reason for the people that live up Canyon Run, live on Tournament Canyon or Tournament Hills of the TPC, that they need to see another lighted LED sign at that intersection. You've got 8 or 9 cell towers on that property to generate revenue. They have been approached several times to put restaurants on that site to enhance their business, and they said it would be inappropriate to take revenue that way in the community, but now it's appropriate to come here and ask for a sign that's not going to generate a dime of revenue unless you go to off-premise situation. That's not what's before us, but we have a lot of these LED signs along that corridor that do a lot more than their on-premise rights provide them. So this being BLM land, I think this is a prelude to violate the patents that the city has when they lease that property, and I just think that would be, I mean, I guess it would be an unintended consequence if we approve this sign and the federal government said they want their land back. I guess that would hurt the golf course pretty badly. It definitely hurt the revenue of the city. So I couldn't support this in any way, shape, or form.
Thank you, Commissioner. Does anybody else wish to be heard? Commissioner Slotman?
Yes, Chairman, through you. A couple of things that stood out to me was 289% increase in allowable size. The sign pole doesn't meet spec. I'm not near as worried about a sign pole as I am that 289% increase in size. And then Public Works states that public improvement projects will be affected by this, or could be affected by this, is what I was reading in the staff report. And we'll have Lucian comment on that here in a minute, but one of the issues that I'm having is every time we approve another digital LED sign, we don't have the sign standards to actually, control these. I mean, we say 300 nits, but 300 nits at how many feet? I can measure nits 20 feet away and get a higher reading than 3,000 feet away. So I think we really need to work on how are we going to enforce these signs, and what rules are we going to enforce, and at what feet. Up and down Charleston, Sahara, Las Vegas Boulevard, I get blinded by these all the time. And I was riding around with Steve Evans a couple weeks ago, and we looked at about 10 of them. And I can guarantee everyone that we've seen was over 300 nits. And nobody at the city of Las Vegas is out there at night measuring these. So I don't know. I think it's just a safety hazard. I didn't vote for the massive mega billboard LED signs on the side of the World Market Center because we wouldn't put any tougher standards and control methods on that. And this being somewhat of a dark street, I couldn't support it going in this location either.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Bonner?
I was going to hit the percentages, and they're right on target. There's only one part of this that I actually agree with, and it is structurally, if you can get a post that does the structural integrity of whatever sign you're holding, I don't mind it being smaller, thinner. But the sign on top of that is not in keeping with what we're trying to do in that corridor. On top of that, I actually have a problem with item number 31 as well, because if we would happen to approve a master sign plan and leave the next sign to be administratively dealt with, I'm not so sure it's as rigidly controlled as what we would do in a public session here. So I'm not in favor of either of these applications, and if it's time to move forward, I'm ready to make motions.
Before you do, any other commissioners wish to be heard? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion.
I move to deny item number 30, VAR 52660, variance for the sign.
Thank you, Commissioner. Please vote. Please note that a yes vote is for denial. Please post. Motion to deny carries.
And I move to deny item number 31, MSP 52661, for the master sign plan.
Please vote, and again, note that a yes vote is for denial. Please post. Motion to deny item number 31 carries.
Mr. Chairman, these items are final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days.
Thank you. Move on now to related items 32, 33, 34, and 35, beginning with item 32, VAR 52719. The applicant is West Care. The owner is Southern Nevada Regional Housing Authority for possible action on a request for a variance to allow 29 parking spaces where 62 spaces are required at 323 North Maryland Parkway in Ward 5, Councilman Barlow. Related item 33, SUP 52715, for possible action on a request for special use permit for a social service provider. Staff is recommending approval. Related item number 34, SUP 52717, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a facility to provide testing, treatment, or counseling for drug or alcohol abuse. Staff is recommending approval. Last related item number 35 is VAC 52721, for possible action on a petition to vacate a public right-of-way. Staff is recommending approval. Staff, may I have a report, please?
Mr. Chairman, this is a request.
Excuse me, just 1 minute.
Sorry?
Mr. Chairman, to you, I just realized we fund also programs through the Southern Nevada Regional Housing Authority, so out of abundance of caution, I'll abstain on all 4 of these items.
Thank you, Commissioner. Staff?
Mr. Chairman, this is a request to relocate a social service provider in a facility to provide testing, treatment, or counseling for drug or alcohol abuse. An associated vacation application is also part of this in order to vacate a remnant portion of an alleyway. Staff is recommending approval of the request. The site was previously utilized as a social service provider. Staff is recommending approval of the variance as the lot is uniquely shaped and unusual shallowness, and staff recommends approval of all the applications. Please note we have received additional e-comments since publication, or even during publication.
Thank you. Can we hear from the applicants, please?
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Matthew Seibert, 630 South 4th Street. I'd also like to introduce, I'm here representing West Care. I'd like to introduce our Senior Vice President, Mr. Michael Lavin, and also the Deputy Administrator, Mr. Rob Adams. Thank you.
Okay. You want to just tell us a little bit real quick, or whether you accept the conditions, or?
Good evening, Commissioners. West Care has been forced to relocate this facility that had been located on Martin Luther King Boulevard because of the Project Neon. We located the site, and it's a unique site that's currently been vacant for 4 to 5 years. It's being vandalized. We plan to improve it and add about $1.2 million in improvements for the site and retask it to serve the community. And we would ask that the Commissioners approve the variances and the request.
Thank you very much. Anybody else wish to be heard there? Do any members of the public wish to be heard on this matter? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment portion, open up for discussion amongst the Commissioners. Commissioner Quinn?
If there's no discussion, I'm ready to make the motions, if anyone else wishes.
Please do.
Thank you. Starting with item number 32, variance 52719, with all of staff's recommendations. I make the motion for approval.
Thank you. Please vote. Please post. Motion to approve item number 32 carries, noting the abstention of Commissioner Goins and the absence of Commissioner Truesdale.
Thank you. Oh. What is it posted?
33.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 33, SUP 52715. I make the motion for approval following all of staff's recommendations.
Thank you. Please vote. Please post. Motion to approve item number 33 carries, noting the abstention of Commissioner Goins.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 34, which is the special use permit 52717. I make the motion for approval following all of staff's recommendations as well.
Thank you, Commissioner. Please vote. Please post.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Motion to approve item number 34 carries, noting the abstention of Commissioner Goins.
Moving on to item number 35, which is a vacation 52721. I make the motion for approval following all staff's recommendations, and I appreciate all the good work you guys do out there.
Thank you, Commissioner. Please vote. Please post. Motion to approve item number 34 carries, noting the abstention of Commissioner Goins.
Mr. Chairman, please note that these items will go forward to the April 16th City Council meeting.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Going on now to related items 36 and 37, beginning with item 36, VAR 52727. Applicant owner is Drock 3rd Street LLC for possible action on a request for a variance to allow a 6-foot tall fence along the front property line where a maximum height of 5 feet is allowed at 200 South 3rd Street in Ward 3, Councilman Coffin. Staff is recommending denial. Item number 37 is SDR 52726 for possible action on a request for a site development plan review for a temporary parking lot and waiver of the downtown Centennial Plan parking lot screening fence standard. Staff is recommending denial. Staff, may we have a report, please?
Mr. Chair, the applicant is requesting a site development plan review to develop a temporary parking lot for valet parking only on 2.7 acres parcel at 200 South 3rd Street within the downtown Centennial Plan Centennial Center Core District. This development application is accompanied by a waiver and a variance. The temporary parking lot does not adhere to the minimum requirements outlined by the Downtown Centennial Plan, as the waiver of the Downtown Centennial Plan streetscape and parking lot landscaping standards is required to allow a 6-foot tall wrought iron fence along the perimeter, or a 42-inch tall Downtown Centennial fence is required. The associated variance allows a 6-foot tall wrought iron fence along the front property line where 5 feet is the maximum height allowed. A hardship has not been presented, and this temporary parking lot disregards the beautification efforts the city is promoting. Therefore, staff recommends denial of both applications. Please note, e-comments were received after publication.
Thank you. Can we hear from the applicant, please?
Mr. Chairman, before we start, I'm going to go ahead and abstain on this item as I'm actually building the Bunnyfish Studio Architectural Office, who is for Craig Palacios.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Terry Murphy, and I'm representing the applicant. Along with me is Craig Palacios with Bunnyfish Studios. Derek Stevens and his brother Greg purchased the old county courthouse in October at an auction at Clark County. So just for a little bit of background, obviously, that's a site that people have been thinking about for a long time. And there's a lot of long-term planning that needs to be done prior to any finalized plan for that site. In the meantime, what we want to do is utilize it for a temporary valet parking lot as described in the application, but also we are hoping to get permission from the business license department for a series of very large community events, concerts, farmers markets, and so forth. And so because we anticipate approximately 25 events per year with people filling 2.5 acres or 2.17 acres of property, that is what is necessitating the waivers for us. We are asking to waive the landscaping because if you're going to get that many people on a lot, the landscaping isn't going to last very long before you have to replace it. With regard to the fence, obviously, you don't want little short people like me being able to climb over your fence so to get into your event for free, now do you? So that's why we're asking to make it at least as tall as me and then a foot taller for 6 feet tall. That is the nature of our request. I wanted to provide that extra background for, it's not anywhere in the application that we're proposing to do major community events there. And so that's why we're asking for the variance.
Thank you. Do any members of the public wish to be heard on this matter? Seeing none, I will close the public comment portion, open it up for discussion amongst the commissioners. Commissioner Truesdale? Or go ahead, Commissioner Boner.
Just a quick one. When this is all done, even the 6-foot fence, if approved, would be coming down for the urbanization of the property, right?
Eventually, yes, sir. We're asking for 3 years.
Thank you.
Commissioner Truesdale?
We've, I missed the courthouse already. Quick question. What happened to the tunnel that went to from the courthouse to the other? There's a tunnel under the other corner that goes to the jail.
I knew you were going to stump me, Commissioner. Craig, do you know what happened?
I mean, is that where the members, people coming to the event are coming from?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No, sir. No, I know where that goes to. I think we're going to plug that tunnel. But don't take my word for it.
I usually am very vocal about the fences because we have a downtown, we have downtown standards, and they're there for a lot of good reasons. But when you look at the temporary nature of this, now it's obviously they paid a very good price for this, or paid a very strong price for this at public auction, and they've spent probably more than they originally envisioned demoing this building and dealing with the asbestos and all the other wonderful things that were in that old building. They're paving this property for future events. It still has to meet some of the downtown requirements. Otherwise, we aren't trying to make our downtown better. And I did reach out to Ms. Murphy this week and the applicants, because I think even if they're going to do this on a temporary basis, we still need a few things here to make this make sense. They have an entrance face that's on Carson, and there should be at those corners a cut back from the fence with some landscaping to soften that tourist face for right now. And our downtown fence, which I think the downtown Centennial fence is short, but it also has a lot of elements that make it very easy to climb over if it's done the way it's supposed to be. And what I looked at was at the entrance of this is where you're going to bring people in, and where you'll have security and you'll have other things. there should be some silhouette, some homage to our downtown Centennial fence-scape that still makes it a secure environment and still gives us some of the landscaping to soften the corners and make it safe. And it is a short-term use. I hope you have wonderful things that come along in half the time and you decide you want to build it for another tower. But I think with what's been invested so far, doesn't mean everybody downtown is investing a lot of money and doing a lot of things. But looking at this as a temporary valet lot, but more specifically as a venue, a entertainment venue, potentially, I would make a motion, if there is no other comments.
Please do.
To support the application for the wrought iron fencing with the changes of the landscaping on the corners, on both corners of Carson and 3rd and Carson and 2nd. And the pedestrian entrance, or the entrance area off of Carson, work with staff to add architectural detailing to the fence that addresses the aesthetics of the Centennial downtown fence. And other than that, to follow staff's as-approved conditions.
Thank you, Commissioner. Please vote.
I'm sorry. You're in agreement with those changes?
Yes. What I wanted to say is that I spoke with Greg Stevens, and both he and Derek wanted me to relay to the commission that they are in absolute agreement with you. They're happy to do the things that you're asking to do, and it's every intent of theirs to make this a beautiful place for the public. I mean, obviously, they're going to use it for valet parking when they're not having events, but they absolutely want to make it to the standard of all of their other projects downtown, 100%.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I might just clarify, those conditions would need to be applied to item number 37, which is the site development plan review application. So I just wanted to make that clear as part of your motion, that those would be added there.
And I would have one request, if I could. With regard to the landscaping, it's possible, given our timeline for the first event that we want to hold and the process at the Water District for us to bring water to that site, that might take longer. So we definitely will do it. We might ask to open prior to having the landscaping in the front. Or we can just,
I might suggest if your first event might be under a special event permit,
yes.
Then in that case, the site plan doesn't need to be fully completed at that point. You will need to meet some requirements for dust control and make sure you provide restroom facilities for the special event, but otherwise you can conduct it even before the site plan is finalized.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. So with that clarification, motion is for approval subject to staff's as approved conditions for item 36.
Please vote. Please post. Motion to approve item 36 carries, noting the abstention of Commissioner Slotman.
And with regards to item 37, motion is for approval subject to staff's as approved conditions with the added conditions of the landscaping and the design elements with staff. And can we say, since you're going to run this under special events, we said those landscaping items would be done within 180 days of your
Yes.
permit? Is that something staff can agree with, or?
We will have the landscaping in place prior to the finalization of it's not really a certificate of occupancy, but before we issue the finals.
I'll leave it up to staff.
Through you,
How's that?
Mr. Chairman, I think it might be a certificate of completion, or there's really not There's civil permits, so finalization of the civil permits?
Yeah.
Thank you.
If everybody's in agreement, that's my motion amended.
Please vote. Please post.
And Madam Clerk, if you could change mine to an
Yeah.
abstention.
Yeah. Motion to approve item number 37 carries, and please note the abstention of Commissioner Slotman.
Mr. Chairman, please note that these items are final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Moving on now to item number 38, which is VAR 52650. Variance applicant owner is Joshua Hamilton and Lynn Holt for possible action on a request for a variance to allow an accessory structure Class 2 detached front-loaded garage to be located in the front yard where such is not permitted, to allow a 5-foot separation from the primary dwelling where a 6-foot separation is required, and to allow a 5-foot front yard setback where a 21-foot setback is required for a proposed accessory structure, Class 2 garage on 0.53 acres at 4 Crescent Drive in Ward 1, Councilwoman Tarkanian. Staff is recommending denial. Staff, may we have the report, please?
Mr. Chair, the request is for a variance to allow a detached front-loaded accessory structure Class 2 garage to be constructed in the front yard where such is not permitted, to allow said structure to be constructed 5 feet with a 5-foot front yard setback where 21 feet is a minimum required, and to allow a 5-foot distance separation from the principal structure where 6 feet is the minimum required. The site is located at 4 Crescent Drive in the Residence Estates zoning district. The site has an existing front and rear setback variance because of its unique shape. However, the proposed additional structure and the need for another setback variance reinforces the site is overbuilt. For these reasons, staff recommends denial of this request. Please note, letters of support were received after publication.
Thank you. Can we hear from the applicants, please?
Good evening. My name is Lynn Holt. I'm from 4 Crescent Drive, and I'm the co-applicant along with Dr. Josh Hamilton here. We appreciate your time and consideration tonight. Commissioner Quinn, we particularly appreciate your taking the time to come and look at the site and see what we're trying to achieve firsthand. And Commissioner Truesdale, we bring greetings from your former neighbors in the Scotch 80 neighborhood. Josh and I love living in the heart of the city, but we recognize that living in that neighborhood comes with certain responsibilities. We have a responsibility to keep our belongings safe from the elements and from crime. We have a responsibility to help reduce vandalism in our neighborhood. And we have a responsibility to beautify the area in which we live. We believe we can achieve all of those things by building a garage at our property, which currently lacks any sort of protection for our vehicles. We propose building a structure that will echo the most interesting architectural elements of our house and actually improve the curb appeal of our property. We know there is concern about our property being overbuilt. We believe we've mitigated this concern by tucking the garage away in the farthest corner of our lot, out of view of virtually everyone but us and the residents of 1 Crescent Drive. That is, if there are ever residents of 1 Crescent Drive. It's currently a vacant lot. We've upgraded our landscaping to the point that the structure won't be visible at all from Rancho Drive or to our existing neighbors along Crescent. Speaking of neighbors, we come to you with strong neighborhood support. We've entered into the record 10 letters of approval from nearby residents, including all of our immediate neighbors and the Scotch 80 Homeowners Association. Josh and I have spent 6 years and a substantial chunk of our income improving our house, and we'd like to continue investing in the property and in our neighborhood, but we'd like to feel a little more safe in our home as well. This variance will allow that, and we gratefully appreciate your consideration tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Do any members of the public wish to be heard on this matter? Seeing none, I will close the public comment portion, open up for discussion amongst the commissioners. Commissioner Quinn.
It was a pleasure, Mr. Hamilton and Mr. Holt, to come to your house today. And the one thing I want this commission to understand is that this garage impacts no one. It backs up to Rancho, and the cypress trees that you have maintained and provided along that buffer, which you don't have to, are magnificent. What, the nice part about that old part of Las Vegas where you've chosen to live is that you've also chosen to keep the element of the neighborhood while revitalizing your house to look better. And I was so impressed. And with 11 letters of support, do you have copies of those that you can give to the clerk, please?
We do.
I was going to say you should have a neighborhood meeting, you should do this, but you didn't really have to. Your support is in the 11 neighbors that are, directly around you. With that said, it's my pleasure to make the motion to approve this application and hope that you do further business in that neighborhood, because you're right on the right playing field to keep everything the way it should be downtown, and welcome to our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other commissioners wish to be heard before we go on a motion?
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to state that I had some people from, could you kill your microphone for a second? I just had a couple of people from the neighborhood also reach out to me in support, and it's not often that people from another ward will reach out to me and express their support, so you'll have my support on it as well.
A brief comment. Every neighbor on Crescent is committed. They all stepped up before anybody ever realized and participated in SID to build the cul-de-sacs, never looking for a waiver. The homes in there, every home on that street's unique, as are most of the neighbors that are still there. I raised my daughters on that street and wish I still lived on Crescent. It's convenient, and that house has a lot of history. And I think you guys have done a great job fixing it up, and I will support your application.
Thank you, Commissioner. Go ahead and entertain a motion, please.
Thank you. With that, it gives me great pleasure to make a motion for approval of variance 52650, following all of staff's recommendations.
Thank you, Commissioner. Please vote. Please post. Motion to approve item 38 carries.
Mr. Chairman, please note that this item is final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days or a request for review by City Council.
Thank you. Good night, gentlemen. Moving on now to related items 39 and 40, beginning with item 39. SUP 52694, applicant Founders Academy of Las Vegas. The owner is 4025 Rancho LLC and Interest Income Partners. For possible action on a request for a private school primary use at 4025, 4035, and 4039 North Rancho Drive in Ward 4, Councilman Anthony. Staff is recommending approval. Related item number 40 is SUP 52696 for possible action on a request for a private school secondary use. Staff is recommending approval. Staff, may we have a report, please?
Mr. Chairman, this is a request for a private school for primary use and a secondary use to be located in building square footages totaling 26,948 square feet. The applicant is not proposing any exterior alterations to the existing building. The proposed use is in compliance with all minimum Title 19 requirements, and the staff finds it to be compatible and harmonious with the surrounding uses and recommends approval.
Thank you. May we hear from the applicant, please?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, staff. My name is Richard Moreno, 4025 North Rancho, and I'm the chairman of Founders Academy, and I'm here this evening with Mr. Kurt Carlson, our friend and architect.
Kurt Carlson with SH Architecture. I'm playing backup singer tonight.
Okay.
Well, we thank staff for their recommendation. We would ask that item number, number 7 condition be waived. And basically, the reason for that is if I could have the, okay. Basically, the traffic study that's asked for, we are a state public charter school. So we offer free tuition. There's no tuition, so every dime counts. And as you know, traffic studies can be up to $15,000. I've seen them a lot less probably for this, but up to $15,000. Our access off of Rancho is here. There's one up a little bit more north, and then we've got Alexander here and here. So we feel that with this flow of traffic, and we understand that it's very important to have a good traffic flow for pickup and drop off of the children, we will have staggered times. So we will have 3 different times, 15 minutes apart, for pickup and drop off. So we ask that that traffic study be waived. And also we asked that this be final action. So if there's any other questions, be happy to ask.
Thank you. Do any members of the public wish to be heard on these items? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment portion, open up for discussion amongst the commissioners. Commissioner Truesdale?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, just a question for staff. Is there a fundamental difference when we talk private school or chartered school?
Not from the standpoint from Title 19, whether it's a private school or a public school or a charter school, they all roll into the same type of item. We do differentiate our notice so that you can tell the difference between a Clark County School District project versus a non-Clark County School District project.
All right. Just for a matter of disclosure, I do serve as treasurer for the Meadows School, and I have for many years and been on their founding board. And if there's no conflict there, I will vote on this item.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'll go ahead and speak on this one myself for a moment. I've looked at the backup material, and I've had discussions with Mr. Moreno, and I feel quite comfortable with their pickup drop-off plan that they have in place. And I'm not sure a traffic study is going to add anything to this application, so I can support this project absent the items number 7 on both item number condition number 7 on both items 39 and 40. And Commissioner Goins, did you have anything?
No, just want to know that I know Mr. Moreno, and I've also met with him too. Coming from a family of educators, I actually had him meet with a couple of my family members, which were assistant principals, and I think this is a solid school in the area. If not, if there's no many questions, I'd like to make a motion on the item.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Certainly.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to make a comment on the request to remove the traffic study. Without the traffic study, we have no enforcement power to, to prevent any backing up on the public streets, so Rancho and Alexander. The reason we have a traffic study requirement is so we can see what they're going to, how they're going to bring the traffic in. It is 500, this is the ultimate is 500 students, all coming in approximately a 45-minute time window. So I really can't recommend that we eliminate the study without it. We have no enforcement if they do not comply with their timing of their schedules, or if they say that queues are not going to be in the public streets and they end up being in the public streets, we have no recourse to stop that. So,
Can we put a condition on there that they adhere to the plan that they've submitted? Because quite frankly, I think what's going to happen if they do a traffic study, it's going to probably just mirror the plan most likely they've already put together. And so if we put a condition that they have to adhere to the plan that they've submitted, I think that gives you the enforcement action that you're requesting.
I don't know if the access plan shows the queuing links of number of vehicles during bell times. If they could provide that, we could possibly analyze that at a later point. I think tonight I couldn't say that I could adequately analyze the plan that they've given us.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Bonar?
Yeah, Do we know who did the queuing plan as we see it on the presentation now? Okay?
I'll take responsibility for the queuing plan.
Okay, well, actually, it flows, and it flows very well, and I've been around a lot of traffic studies. I thought for a minute the traffic study was how big does Rancho have to be and Alexander have to be? Well, we all know that we wouldn't make them do any improvements to either of those. And I think these are existing buildings and existing entrances, and I don't think we need any amendments to those. We've been having commercial traffic in there for years. I think the only people that would suffer by having a bad traffic flow would be the applicant themselves. And I don't think they're about to let them, the nature of this school, the altruism which they're even having this school, be at jeopardy in any time. And if they do a 3 staggered plan, as promised, committed to, shake your head now, that I think we can do without the traffic study as well.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Goins?
Well, with that, so I guess with that, I'm ready to make a motion. I'm listening to Public Works, who's saying we don't want to give it up, but I guess my question is, are we able to then delete condition number 7, or are we able to modify it in a sense that would satisfy both Public Works and also the applicant?
Director?
Mr. Chairman, through you, if I might respond to that question. If the intent of the planning commissioners is to delete condition number 7 on both of these items, what I might recommend we do as kind of a backup measure is to have a condition that states that the queuing for pickup and drop-off of students shall be in accordance with the plan submitted to the Department of Planning, and no queuing shall be permitted on Rancho Drive or West Alexander Road. That at least gives us some ability to have code enforcement review the queuing patterns as we've done with other charter schools.
Thank you.
So, Director, is that a new condition, or is that a modification of condition number 7?
That would be a new condition of approval. Mr. Rankin, you have a comment?
I'm just clarifying that we're deleting 7. We haven't received a circulation or drop-off plan at this point, so we would request that one be submitted to the planning department so that we can review it. And Public Works, I think together we can come up with a solution and hold them to that plan. Okay. But we haven't received one at this time.
So the plan presented here this evening will become the...
Correct, the one that we see on here, and then we'll add some details to that in our administrative meetings.
Okay.
It was submitted in the application. That was part of the application package, because it was requested by planning specifically.
Yeah, that's what I thought, but I don't have it as part of my backup material, so we'll check on that. But I thought it was part of the submission originally also, but it didn't make our backup here before. So why don't we amend it with the plan that is presented here on the dais, and we'll either get a copy from the applicant or make sure we have the copy in our files.
Thank you, Commissioner Goins.
So with that, I'll, on item 39, SUP 52694, move for approval, subject to all staff's recommendations and conditions, with the deletion of condition number 7, and we're going to add a new condition as read in by the director. And we're also going to include a circulation plan from the applicant to be submitted to staff to depict the circulation of the site, and that'll suffice as some enforcement as requested by Public Works.
And Mr. Chairman, could we add to that a queuing analysis is done? Because that will tell us, each car is 20 feet long, and if they've got 1,000 feet, that's, your 50 cars. So if that analysis can include a queuing analysis, that will tell us, if cars are going to back up into the right-of-way or not.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I might respond to that we would amend the condition that I had read into the record earlier to include a queuing analysis.
And I concur, and that will be my motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Please vote. Please post. Motion to approve item number 39 with the Amendments to the conditions carries.
Mr. Chairman, item 40, SUP 52696, move for approval, subject to all staff's recommendations and conditions.
Commissioner, you still got to do the same conditions that you did on item 39 for item 40 as well.
And we will remove condition number 7 and replace it with the condition that was read into the record earlier.
And that will be my motion.
Thank you. Please vote. Please post. Motion to approve item number 40 carries.
Mr. Chairman, these items are final action in the absence of an appeal within 10 days.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Okay, we'll now move on to related items 41 and 42. Item 41 is SUP 52718. The applicant is 611 Fremont LLC. The owner is Encryptic LLC for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed 6,448 square foot retail establishment with accessory packaged liquor within a proposed market at 611 Fremont Street in Ward 3, Councilman Coffin. Staff is recommending approval. Related item number 42, SUP 52720, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed 6,448 square foot beer wine cooler on sale, off sale, with 200 square feet of outdoor seating area within a proposed market and restaurant. Staff is recommending approval. Staff, may we have a report, please?
Mr. Chairman, this site is located within the Fremont East District of the Downtown Centennial Plan overlay and will be complementary to a wide variety of commercial uses within the area. Staff is recommending approval of both requests, both requests at this time, as we find it compatible and harmonious with the surrounding properties. Please note we've received additional e-comments after publication.
Thank you. Can we hear from the applicant, please?
Yes,
Good evening,
Mr. Chairman.
Chairman.
Before we start, I'm be abstaining on these two items as I have ongoing business relationship with the applicant.
Thank you, Commissioner. Go ahead.
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. Before I forget, I would just want to take my own personal moment to honor Mr. Farlow. He was a good friend and colleague, and I just wanted to share one little story. I've had some great days before council and commission when we acquired City Hall, when we built Container Park. But probably the greatest day I ever had was when Todd was surprisingly honored as the Citizen of the Month. The mayor actually called me up and made sure I attended that meeting. I had never seen an individual more happy in my life, and I just wanted to share that with the public before I begin. So thank you for that. First of all, I'm very excited to be here on this matter. I'm a downtown resident. I live downtown, so I can't tell you what a much-needed amenity the market is downtown. So I'm just going to share a little bit with you about the market. We're going to have a very large selection of natural, organic, and conventional products, grab-and-go, prepared foods. There's a salad bar. There's a hot food bar, a bakery, deli, sundries, produce. Our hours of operation are intended to be from 7 a.m. till 9 p.m. Weekdays until midnight on the weekends. The reason for the other part of the thing that we sell is going to be alcohol, and hence the special use permits that we're going to be talking about here tonight. As you saw in the staff report, the overall retail space, floor space that we're dedicating to alcohol sales is just under 5%. There's a code requirement to be under 10. Again, I think we must remember that this is a market and this is simply an amenity that we're providing. We are not in the business of selling alcohol in general, and it's simply an amenity so that you can do some grab and go and one-stop shopping. One of the things that I wanted to commit to and can be built into any conditions you care for is we will not be selling singles. We will not be selling Four Locos. We will not be selling minis. We will not be selling 40-ounce beers. I'm a Fremont East Entertainment District board member. I just came from the board meeting, and I'm here to declare they're going to be writing a letter of support for this. Again, we didn't get the opportunity to do so before here, but it'll be coming before council. We were given the support based on the same items that I indicated that we would not be doing. We would not be selling Locos. We would not be selling singles. We would not be selling minis. We would not be selling 40-ouncers. I also had the opportunity to meet with Captain Anderson of the Downtown Command and talk with him about the market and what it is and what it's bringing. I'm part of the overall alcohol stakeholder meetings that are downtown, and as part of that, we're continuing to work with proposed legislation and with the business owners, and we committed to Captain Anderson as it relates to First Friday, New Year's Eve, any specific restrictions that might come out of those, we're very willing and able to adhere to. We've also taken the opportunity, based on some comments from the council members, to have a neighborhood meeting in between between commission and council. We're working with Mr. Rankin to set that meeting up. I'm happy to, once that meeting is noticed, it'll be noticed and given to all the folks in the radius circle that needs to be indicated. With that, I brought with me today is the landowner from the Cryptic LLC, Mr. Sturman, who would like an opportunity to speak as well. And then after he speaks, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
I've owned this property now 15 years.
Sir, you need to go where the mic is. Thank you.
My name is Richard Sturman, the owner of 611 Fremont Street. I just wanted to say we've owned the property 15 years. We originally had a small family market there. Did not address the needs of the neighborhood. When the opportunity presented itself that I could have a single renter take over the entire premises, rebuild the entire building, bring everything up to code from the front to the back, from side to side, including the roof area. I was extremely excited because I've been working downtown now for 35 years. I have businesses on 3rd and 4th Street, and we have businesses there that we've had for 35 years. So when I felt that a full-term supermarket that would service the area is wonderful, and I'm in full support of my tenants here and what they propose.
Thank you, sir. Do any members of the public wish to be heard on this matter? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment portion, open up for discussion amongst the commissioners. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion. Commissioner Goins.
Mr. Chairman, on item 41, SUP 52718, move to follow staff's recommendation for approval, subject to all staff's recommendations and conditions.
Thank you, Commissioner. Please vote. Please post. Motion to approve item 41 carries, noting the abstention of Commissioner Slotman.
Item 42, SUP 52720, move to follow staff's recommendations for approval, subject to all conditions and recommendations.
Thank you, Commissioner. Please vote. Please post. Item number 42 is approved, and noting the abstention of Commissioner Slotman.
Mr. Chairman, please note that these items will go forward to the April 16th City Council meeting.
Thank you. Certainly. Moving on now to item number 43. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm on next.
Okay.
Next two items are me as well.
I just appreciate it. Moving on to item number 43 is SUP 52709. The applicant owner is 1028 Fremont Street LLC for possible action on a request for a special use permit for a proposed 1,017 square foot tavern limited establishment with 1,732 square foot outdoor seating area at 1028 Fremont Street in Ward 3, Councilman Coffin. Staff is recommending approval. Staff, may we have the report, please?
Mr. Chair, seeing as I have ongoing business relationships with relationship with the applicant, and I'm under pre-construction contract on this project, I'll be abstaining on this matter.
Thank you, Commissioner. Staff?
The proposed establishment is made up of approximately 1,017 square feet, gross square feet of floor area, for the first floor and 1,722 square feet of outdoor seating. This proposed project will operate in conjunction with the recently approvals at the site for the conversion of a motel into a 50,768 square foot retail center with 3 tavern limited uses, which totals 17,235 square feet, including 8,625 square feet in outdoor patio space. This project is located within the East Village District of the Downtown Centennial Plan, which does allow tavern limited establishments with approval of a special use permit. Staff finds that the use can be operated compatible and harmonious with surrounding uses and uses on site, and recommends approval. Please note we have received additional comments by electronic means.
Thank you. Can we hear from the applicant, please?
Sure. Todd Kessler, 261 Las Vegas Boulevard North, here on behalf of the applicant. This is a follow-up item to some other previous SUPs that we applied for what is called the Ferguson's Hotel. We have in the process of beginning construction on this, and it'll be open in probably about 9 months. This is another great reuse project. We have an art centerpiece, as you can see on the image that's being portrayed right now, where we're putting an incredible art piece called Big Rig Jig. It is a combination of 2 18-wheelers that are formed in an S. I wish I had a picture of it. I'd love to show you. But as you can see, we've created a unique courtyard setting with an amphitheater. The SUP that we're bringing forth here today is for one of the corner locations. We're actually going to, in discussions and finalization with a brewery that's going to go in there. This is a piece of real estate that's directly across the street from other projects that we've been approved called the Wheelhouse, which is one of our music entertainment projects, as well as the Bunkhouse, which is just behind the Wheelhouse. And so, as you can see, we're trying to begin the development eastward, and this project here will just be one more of the reasons to come down to this direction. I support staff's conditions, and I'm here happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do any members of the public wish to be heard on this item? Saying none, I'll close the public comment portion, open up for discussion amongst the commissioners. Saying none, I'll entertain a motion. Commissioner Goins.
Mr. Chairman, on item 43, SUP 52709, move to follow staff's recommendation for approval, subject to all recommendations and conditions.
Thank you, Commissioner. Please vote. Please post. Motion to approve item 43 carries, noting the abstention of Commissioner Slotman.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, this item will go forward to the April 16th City Council meeting.
Thank you. Going on now to item number 44, which is SDR 52716. Applicant is Shipping Containers LLC. Owner is 707 Fremont LLC. For possible action on a request for a major amendment to Site Development Plan Review, SDR 45945, for a waiver to allow no screening of the mechanical equipment from the street level and surrounding building views at 707 Fremont Street in Ward 5, Councilman Barlow. Staff is recommending denial. And I imagine you're abstaining, Commissioner Slotman?
Yes, sir. Due to ongoing business relationships with the applicant and actually constructing the boxcar and caboose at this project.
Thank you, Commissioner. Staff, may we have the report, please?
Mr. Chairman, staff does note that the correct ward for this area is Ward 3, and there was a Scribner error during publication. The applicant is requesting to deviate from the architectural design standards of the Downtown Centennial Plan, Fremont East District, by providing no screening of mechanical equipment from street view and surrounding buildings. Subject site has several roof-mounted cooling units and wall-mounted HVAC units that are not screened from view from street level and surrounding properties. Staff is recommending denial of this request, as the proposed amendment is self-imposed and does not meet the architectural design standards found in the Downtown Centennial Plan. Please note we have received additional e-comments since publication.
Thank you. May I hear from the applicant, please?
Sure. Todd Kessler, 261 Las Vegas Boulevard North, on behalf of the applicant. Yeah, this is a very unique project, and hopefully some of you folks have had the opportunity to visit the project, and if you haven't, I'd ask that you do come. What's amazingly enough is we've been open for under 4 months. We've had over 400,000 people come through the doors. It's been a very well-received project. It was somewhat controversial. It's an inception, and it's unique in every situation, hence this request. When we first designed the project, we complied with the Centennial Plan standards. Then when we put the units up on the roof, due to their unique configuration, We noticed that it was quite an attractive element, and the one that we kind of liked. And based upon that, we came forward with this request. I'm happy to answer any questions. We ask that you do support this item, and again, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do any members of the public wish to be heard on this matter? Saying none, I'll close the public comment portion, open up for discussion amongst the commissioners. Commissioner Truesdale?
The project is a wonderful project. It's, you know, they are, I have been there several times. They are getting incredible traffic, but I'm kind of, I guess it's a difference of opinion on what is uniquely attractive or incredible, or however you want to describe the units, because they don't fit. I mean, we put this standard on a lot of buildings, and when they have roof-mounted units, and it's important. And to step away from that, I mean, you've already installed the framework to hold the screening. That in itself, just standing there, doesn't add to the attraction. So I can't support waiving the screening elements. I think that's an important part of what completes that project.
Thank you. Commissioner Bonner?
Actually, I've put a lot of time on this, Mr. Kessler, and I've got something written that I don't want to miss anything, so I'm going to read it, and it's going to sound like I'm reading it. I don't have the strongest voice. I wish I had to borrow some from the chairman, but if you'll give me this time. The Review Journal recently had a nice article about Todd Farlow, and in that article, the issue of medical marijuana was noted. In particular mention was made of two attorneys who demurred from voting on that topic for fear of breaching their code of ethics, which brought with it the potential of losing their license. The article had errors in it. First, I was not one of those who declined to vote on the topic. Quite the opposite. I think I was the most vocal on the board while considering that voting. But more egregious, the RJ's two errors had one that said I was an attorney. Well, I don't know if I have a defamation suit or not, but I'm not an attorney. But what I do have is a design background, and dealt a lot with screening and minor things, major things, and I'm surprised you've actually asked for this request. I spent a lot of time on your letter of justification, and quite frankly, well, let me just go on. Regardless of the type of structure for which you seek these waivers, your mechanical equipment is no better and no worse looking than anybody else. Even suggesting that your equipment deserves special treatment because of the metal-clad buildings that they're on, well, that's quite bold. Some would say that even having the moxie to submit such an application is a sign of disrespect and even arrogance. Your justification states that the mechanical equipment, or at least your mechanical equipment, should be bare, should not be screened. And your equipment should not have to install box enclosures for screening. Where I take issue is that if you want your project to be unique, then you should bear the task of coming up with something unique that not only does the effective screening, but maybe involves technology to make it a more functional screening element. Just make it part of the art of the downtown experience. Here are the facts. There's a group of people, professional people, who think all their products should be openly displayed for public to experience. Those are the mechanical engineers who designed those pieces of equipment. The conflict is that virtually everybody else wants the things to be screened, and more than that, they don't want to see it, they don't want to smell it, they don't want to hear it, they don't want to feel the vibrations from it. You were here proposing, if you were here, proposing a superior design for shrouding those mechanical elements, then you'd be a lot better received, at least by this person. But you should be here doing that instead of asking for a waiver. I hope we can agree that we want an outcome of this issue to be positive, and for that reason, I would prefer to believe that with your design team, it simply needs a better challenge. I'll wrap it up by saying my preference would be to have you withdraw this application and urge you instead to challenge your design team to utilize or invent new technology to come up with a creative and superior visual and functional screening for mechanical equipment such as you have on your buildings.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Goins?
Just a couple of comments. I think, well, Mr. Kessler, here's another challenge. I think maybe every time you fire up one of them air conditioners, you ought to have some sparks shooting out that thing.
We'll get there.
But real quickly, and I'm going to take about 30 seconds. About a couple of weeks ago, my kids go to school down there at First Good Shepherd, and for 35 years, First Good Shepherd Private School had hosted their events at the school. This year, and thanks Mr. Kessler and his group, I was able to move our PAC 148 end of the year scout party up to the Learning Village one evening, and we had about 55 people from First Good Shepherd there and scouts dressed up. And right after we got through with our event, we visited the container park. And I just can't tell you how the school is still raving about the ambience that was down there. To have about 50 scouts in uniforms and just the people that gravitated to the scouts and the family environment that we had down there weekend is just something that's unfathomable, and we still talk about it now. It's a unique piece, and it's very unique in what it serves both for families and also individuals that want to come downtown. We sat there that night from about 7:30 till 9 o'clock. We had to leave the park with the kids. But the screening equipment it blends in with the contrast. It didn't serve as an eyesore, and this is only my opinion. And while I don't think the justification letter is a bit of arrogance, I think if you read it and go out to the park, not just one time, go a couple of times at different hours so you can understand the mix down there. And even his suggestion in the letter to paint those units to blend with down there, I think is right in line with the uniqueness of that particular project down there. I think you take away from it if you screen it in with your typical screen wall up there, because the uniqueness of this is like anything that you have never seen before. And so that's just my opinion I wouldn't touch it. I think if we put a screen wall up there on that equipment, I think we detract from the uniqueness and the creativity of that park. And I'd just like to commend you and from the PAC 148 and the good people at First Good Shepherd. I took some folks that were uptown, downtown, and now they want to stay downtown. So we really appreciate it, and thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Moody?
Mr. Kessler, through the chair, I came in tonight, just having looked at this, and it was an outright no for me, but I think I understand what you're trying to do with this. I mean, this is a very unique place. It's modern, utilitarian, it's got that different feel to it. But I'm also convinced by Commissioner Bonard that there may be a way to think outside the container on this and to do something maybe in between that can make the commission happy as well as the applicant. So I'm going to agree with him on this one. I don't know if procedurally the way to do that is to withdraw and go back and revisit and come back, but I think we can do better. So I'm kind of up in the air right now.
Okay. Commissioner Quinn?
I also came in kind of feeling the same way as Commissioner Moody, that it was just, unthinkable to take these screens down. But then when I thought about the productivity, the enhancement, the great project that this is, I feel that what you're doing is only for the best interest for the community, because you've proven that to me. And you know how I am with you, Mr. Kessler.
Yes.
And I love this project. And if it means that you want to take these screens down or this fence, you have my blessing. because you've always been a man of your word. And unfortunately, this is one of those things where I'm going to wear my heart on my sleeve and support you on this, because I love the place. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anybody else wish to be heard? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
If I could, just quickly, make a couple comments. Just
Okay.
because, again, there was no disrespect or arrogance in my intentions here, and I hopefully, again, the folks that know me.
Could I ask you to please speak up? I am a little hard of hearing.
Sure.
And you're often.
Sure.
Well, toward the end of your statement,
No problem. Again, what I wanted to indicate was simply that there was no disrespect or arrogance intended in our application by any means. You know, it is a look and feel, and it's somewhat subjective, and I understand that point of view. You know, if this was a stucco building and a standard-looking structure, I would concur with, I mean, we've never asked for any waivers of screening in any other project. And as you can see, we started framing it, and then we noticed what it looked like. We didn't just independently, there was a few of us, you know, the design team, I was one of the leaders of the team, kind of looked at it and said, this looks really great. We came up with some ideas that we thought would work, which was painting it multicolored. And so to specifically reiterate to Mr. Truesdale's comment, we would take down those elements that are there for the intentional, to put the screening on. We put them up, and then we noticed what it looked like. We walked around the whole project. We brought other folks in. We asked their opinions. They all shared the same view. Or similar views. I know there's always different views, and hence the reason we came forth here today. And again, you know, this is one of those things that just doesn't fit in the normal box, and I'm going to still go forward with this and ask for your support. And I'm happy again to answer any questions based on what I said. And as a father of a Scout member, I was very proud to have that opportunity. But you're Scout down there.
Thank you, Mr. Kessler. I just want to make one quick comment. I'm going to have kind of a split personality on this one, because I look at the units that are up on high, you know, with the curved stack, and I think I agree with you. I think it does look better, kind of like that. But then I look at the one picture that's got the lower square, normal-looking units. Quite frankly, I think those should be screened. So I don't agree with you on that. I don't know if you can get the one picture that I'm talking about that's in our backup material. I don't see it on the screen there, but in our backup material, there is some, right there. I don't think that picture there, I think, is what I'm referring to. That really doesn't add to it, in my opinion. So what I would be more than happy to do is support what you're saying on those up on the higher elevations, but that lower portion there with just the box units, I think those should be screened.
Given your statement, Chairman Flangus, again, this is a great creative process that's occurring here at the council. I'd be willing, those are really on the backside of our project, and the other ones that we do like are the ones that you're indicating. Those are the bulk of them. And so I don't know how to do this, Flynn, but you're a master. And I'll put my hands in your abilities to craft on the fly.
What we might do, since there has been a request to pull this item forward to City Council for review by the City Council, is that in the interim period here between Planning Commission and City Council, we might request that the applicant submit a revised plan to screen a number of the units and provide that plan to the Department of Planning prior to review by City Council. So something along those lines is how we might craft that condition.
Thank you. Entertain a motion now.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move for approval of SDR 52716, subject to all staff's recommendations and conditions. Director, so we're going to, will this be a condition on there to look at this, or is this something that's just going to happen between City Council?
Yes. Why don't we word it as such that the applicant shall submit a revised screening plan to the Department of Planning for review and approval prior to consideration by City Council.
So, Mr. Director, through the chairman, what you're recommending is we just abdicate our position as the planning commission for design review and just say, we're okay with whatever and let them go forward to the city council? If that's what you're saying, I'm prepared to vote.
Let's not use the word abdicate. Let's say that you have given direction to staff relative to what you feel is appropriate here on the site, and that we are to enforce your desires, if it so be.
May I ask a question? Has the Downtown Review Board, the Design Review Board seen this? Do they have a civil voice in it?
Mr. Chairman, through you, no, they have not. The Downtown Design Review Committee currently only reviews signage within the special sign districts in the downtown area. They don't review elevations at this point in time.
Okay, Commissioner Goins.
So, Mr. Chairman, that would be my motion for approval with the added condition as read in by the planning director.
And just for clarification, is that a recommendation or a condition?
That would be a condition of your approval
Thank you.
tonight.
Okay, please vote. Please post. The vote is split 3-3. I believe that's no recommendation from the Planning Commission before it goes forward to the City Council.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Mr. Kessler. Going on now to Director's Business, item 45, TXT 51220, applicant owner, City of Las Vegas, for discussion and possible action to amend LVMC Title 19 Unified Development Code, UDC, of the City of Las Vegas to introduce standards for the RSL Residential Small Lot District and provide for other related matters. Staff has no recommendation. Staff?
Mr. Chairman, this text amendment will provide a district that is in between the RCL standards and the R1 standards. The general development standards will reflect a minimum lot size of 4,500 square feet and a minimum lot width of 40 feet for interior lots and 45 feet for corner lots. It will allow this use within densities between 5.49 dwelling units per acre and up to 8.49 dwelling units per acre. It does allow for a porch structure to be built into the front yard area and allow it to encroach at 10-foot setback where the dwelling unit will be set back 15 feet. In your backup material, there is a table that compares the R1, RSL, and RCL standards for your consideration. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Director?
Mr. Chairman, if I can just add on to Mr. Rankin's report, one of the key things that we wanted to achieve with this proposed zoning district is to correct some of the deficiencies of the RCL zoning district that have been pointed out by both planning commissioners and city council members over the last several years. One of the things that this intermediate district does is it does allow for the ability to have on-street parking spaces in between two-car driveways in this proposed district, which is something that we're not currently able to do very successfully in the RCL district. So among other things, it does correct some of the parking situations that we've had with some of the smaller lot product that we've seen over a couple of years. And so just wanted to make you aware of that.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Do any members of the public wish to be heard on this matter? Saying none, I will close the public comment portion, open up for discussion amongst the commissioners. Commissioner Moody.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If zoning were Russian nesting dolls, we're missing one of the dolls, and I think this plugs it in. I really like this. Right now, we go from RD at 10,000 to R1 at 6,500 to RCL at 3,000, and plugging in a 45,000 or 4,500 minimum lot size with these other things that we talked about, I think really allows some things. And, over the past 3 or 4 months, we've seen some applicants come in who wanted the smaller zoning, but said they would be willing to stipulate to a condition that they would limit it to a certain density, but we're unable to make sure they do that. So this is kind of a great compromise, in my opinion, and I like the idea.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other commissioners?
I think it solves a problem that's been created by the code. Us going from the RCL to the single family, the attached, which were the old duplex lots, to the R1. And I think it's the appropriate thing to do. But it really would be great to offer the community an additional alternative going forward, and I hope planning would look at it, where you can create residential blocks with parking, on-street parking, angled parking, and letting people cluster homes where we don't build garages in everybody's front door, and we don't wall them off with fences. We let neighbors interact with each other, and we create livable, true livable, walkable communities in an owned setting. I think we're maturing to that point where we probably could handle that kind of development. If we can handle air conditioners on roofs, we can handle anything. So I'm going to support this, but I really think there's another possibility that would create a great housing stock. Cars, paint surfaces on cars has evolved 1,000% since the advent of the garage, and they don't deteriorate in the sun, they don't melt, and we don't need big two-car garages in front of every 1,000-foot home. So,
thank you. Mr. Director?
I was just going to say, we are very happy to hear those comments, Commissioner Truesdale, that we support walkable communities and neighborhoods, and we hope that the marketplace follows suit.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, on item number 45, TXT 51220, I will make a motion for approval.
Thank you, Commissioner. Please vote. Please post. Motion to approve item number 45 carries.
And, Mr. Chairman, this item will go forward to City Council in ordinance form.
Thank you. Going to the final item of the evening, citizens' participation, item 46. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. No subject may be acted upon by the Planning Commission unless that subject is on the agenda and is scheduled for action. If you wish to be heard, come to the podium and give your name for the record. The amount of discussion on any single subject, as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed, may be limited. I would ask that folks, it looks like we have quite a few comments tonight. I would ask you keep your comments down to about 3 or 4 minutes. Good evening, sir.
Evening, Scott Swank, 546 Barbara Way. I appreciate the commission giving time to remember Todd Farlow's contributions. I haven't been here as many times as some, but perhaps a couple dozen, and I'm happy that he supported every motion that I supported and opposed every one I opposed. Thank you for that.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, definitely put the timer on this one.
No timer.
Learn to read here. Good evening. Steve Evans, 1705 Cochran Street, Las Vegas, Nevada. Part of this I'm going to read, and some of it I may just be able to wing. Like all of you sitting up on this dais, I had the distinction of spending many long hours in the presence of the guy from 240 North 19th Street. During my 10 years as planning commissioner, I estimate that time to have been well over 1,000 hours. And as I reflect back, I'm proud to have known Todd Farlow, a great citizen, a kind man, and someone I like to think was a friend. His contributions I don't think will be ever fully known, but I'm sure glad to see the broad recognition that's been given. Jane Ann Morrison did an article in the Review Journal. I think there may have been an error in Commissioner Boner in your position on that matter, but I'd like to ask that the sentiments of that article be read into the record. It did speak to the essence of who Todd was. Fellow former planning commissioners Todd Nigro, Michael Buckley, and Craig Galati could not be here tonight, but all send their condolences and remembrances of the man that we shared so many late nights with. And we can thank former Commissioner Stephen Quinn for Todd's selection of great dapper ties. Whether you agreed with Todd or not, and more often than not I did, he was a force to be reckoned with. A post from a former community leader, Ben Contine, summed it up. Ben wrote, and I'm going to read in part what he stated, Todd ensured that no issue, no matter the size or scope, would be ignored. He reminded us that representative government should never be easy. No matter the bankroll or the juice of the applicant, they, at the very least, would have to listen while Mr. Farlow made his case. If there is a place of justice past the great beyond, let the newest member take his seat. His name is Todd Farlow. He stood when others would not, and he lived at 240 North 19th Street. Margot Wheeler and Bob Genzer could not be here tonight. They both send condolences, as well as all of your former colleagues. I have the sad but honorable task of appearing before you and adding my name to the record of the guy from 240 North 19th. Rest in peace, a great community warrior. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Laura McSwain, 8175 Buffalo Ranch. I served amongst you, some of you, years and years ago. And Todd Farlow was a participant in life. How often do we have the opportunity to be before somebody who recognizes their need to participate, does so diligently, and ends up making an impact on all of us? That's probably I think the greatest thing that anybody can do is to participate, as all of you are doing. And so here's to the participators. And Todd will be very, very missed. So thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Stephen Franklin, 2000 Parkway North. Just want to send my condolences out to Todd's family. He was kind of a rock star of KCLV. I can remember whenever I first became addicted, literally addicted to watching Planning Commission meetings about 15 years ago. And he, like Mayor Goodman at the time, were quite characters. At first, I didn't know what to think of the guy. But as I continued to watch the Planning Commission meetings and the City Council meetings, it was like the guy was pretty spot on. Maybe not the most eloquent speaker, but he was a bulldog, a watchdog, and a puppy dog all rolled into one. So thank you guys for your patience on listening to him and to me. Good night.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to be heard? Commissioners? Commissioner Slotman?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Today, March 11th, marks the first Planning Commission Todd Farlow since, or first Planning Commission meeting since the passing of Todd Farlow. I've been up here for about 2 years, and I can only remember one time that he's actually missed a meeting. And I told Todd that the next meeting that I missed him, I wanted him to come back, and that he wasn't allowed to miss any other meetings. You know, he attended these meetings for 12 years and probably only missed a handful. When I first got to town, had to appear before the Planning Commission, City Council. Todd was one of the first people that I met, and he passionately supported our projects and everything that we've built since that time. But it's not just the City Council and the Planning Commission hearings. It was the Southern Nevada Water Authority and the Colorado River meetings and all sorts of meetings. And Todd did a considerable amount of research, and he would sit up here and tell us that we need to read a particular article. And inevitably, he would always send it over to Director Fagg, and Director Fagg would send it back out to us, and in my spare time, I'd read those articles and learned a considerable amount from the information that he shared with us, not just at the meetings, but outside of these meetings. Today, Vicki and I put a few flowers out in the second row back, third seat in, where he always sat. And I think it, with the agenda and Vicki bringing in a tie hanging over the seat, I think it marks it just perfectly. And one more thing about Todd Farlow. I've seen him in the community. I've seen him on a usual basis. I would see him walking the streets. I would see him driving. Todd Farlow, 240 North 19th Street, is only about 6 blocks from my house. He was a great man, and I'm sure we'll hear Todd for many of years in this chamber every time somebody wants to get rid of a tree. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Quinn?
I think the most valuable lesson Todd Farlow taught me was to not to forget to take the time to tell people how great they are when they're here. And I never did that. I used to sometimes sit here and roll my eyes at him or chuckle. But there were many nights, if he was late, Byron would look over at me and say, "Where's Todd? Have you seen Todd?" And then 10 minutes later, Commissioner Trinity would say to me, "Have you seen Todd? Todd's not here. Where's Todd?" And now Todd's not coming back. And I think what I've learned the most is to thank people while they're here, how important they are. Because I didn't do that when he was here. And I feel sad that I didn't do that. And he had a memory like an elephant, because he'd always come up here and he'd go, and the previous Commissioner Quinn would say, "There's nothing more permanent than a temporary building." And I used to say, "God, if you say that one more time, Todd, but damn, I wish you were here to say it right now." So, lesson learned, thank people while they're here. And I'm just, I don't think the place will ever be quite the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Goins?
Just, I'll be real brief. I think everybody's recapped it. I used to look at Todd, and if I saw him here, I knew that was another hour and a half on to the meeting. If I didn't see him here, I almost knew I could get home and get some dinner before I go to bed. But you know, everybody has their beliefs, and God is the head of my life, and Jesus Christ, and I believe He makes each and every one of us unique and different. And I think Todd was unique and different. But when you look at it, he was just a citizen. He was just a man who cared, and he cared passionately about his neighborhood. He cared passionately about people. He cared passionately about his city and even his country. And so he was just a unique person. And I know we're not going to put any flags at half-mast. We're not going to shut off all the neon on the Strip in his honor. But I do think that by us speaking of his good deeds and what he's done, And in my belief, I think he's in a better place than we all are here. And I think he's sitting at the right hand of the Father, and he looks down upon us. And I just want to say, rest in peace, Todd. We love you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Director?
Mr. Chairman, just a couple of quick thoughts about Todd Farlow. First of all, Todd was one of our first graduates from the Citizens Academy of Planning. Purpose of that program is to teach citizen participation, and I think he could have taught that to us instead. Todd was always a supporter of trails, trees, and anything green and sustainable, and so we appreciate his efforts and his inputs in making the city of Las Vegas a better place.
Thank you. Commissioner Moody?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. You know, soon after we moved into this building, Todd Farlow stood up at the end of one of our meetings during citizens' participation and took us to task for not having a bike rack outside this building. And almost immediately, I think by the next meeting, we had a little blue bike rack out there. And I hope that everyone who walks into this building from here forward will look at that and not only remember Todd Farlow, but the difference that one citizen can make in this process. That's how I'll remember Todd Farlow.
Thank you. Commissioner Truesdale?
Obviously, Todd attended a lot of meetings all over this valley. But Todd also did something for the Planning Commission years ago. He felt so strong about the how we would think about green buildings and how we would think about making better projects. And he felt so strong about it at Christmas or sometime in the middle of the year, he bought all the planning commissioners a subscription to Dwell magazine, which surprised me because I already had 2 copies at my house. So but that was how Todd was committed to how the city grew.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Bonar?
I do happen to have the article that was in the RJ, and it does say all the good things, but it doesn't scratch the surface from what I learned from that man. I'm not going to read it into the record as was requested, but I'd like to submit it to the clerk so that she can put it in our minutes, and the rest of history then can see that article. I want to thank him for the lessons he gave me as the newest planning commissioner. I learned a lot from Todd. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And I guess I'm last. There's not much more I can add other than I was impressed with his knowledge and his passion for Las Vegas. I was very impressed with his participation in the system and the way that I don't even know how to describe this, but it was amazing to me that he was able to articulate himself on virtually every item that ever came up on here. And I do agree with Commissioner Goins here. It's just when you saw him here, you knew you had another hour on the meeting, and he wasn't here, you knew you were getting out in time for Commissioner Goins to get home for dinner. So does anybody else have anything to say regarding citizen participation? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting.